Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, almost going down there. Hello. I'ma crack me a cold one. So, hopefully my dryer is not too loud because my roommate is drying his clothes, and you know, I don't want to be that guy and shut off the dryer because he probably needs his clothes dried. It's been 6.3. All right, to the video. So you guys clicked on this video simply because of the title, but we're gonna jump right into it. A lot of guys ask me, or a lot of you subscribers asking me about rod setups. You know, some of you guys want one particular rod setup that does everything. Some of you say, hey, I only have this much money. What should I do with this amount of money? And you know, how can I get the most bang for my buck, etc. So today I'm not really gonna talk about cost, and I'm not gonna talk about brands or anything like that, but I'm specifically gonna talk about 3 baitcasters that you guys should have. If, like, let's say you can only afford to buy 3 rods and 3 reels, I'm gonna tell you what those should be and the reasons why, so that if you guys want 3 rods just to have all the time, whether you're going pond hopping or you just have a budget that, you know, you're kind of stuck with, or maybe you just don't want a million rods. You know, these are 3 rods that are gonna allow you to fish every single bait and really excel your fishing career or hobby. It's just gonna make you a better fisherman, and it's gonna help you learn your way around bass fishing a lot more. Cheers, guys. Only drink if you're of age, and let's get right into this. I'm gonna do this in an order that I think somewhat makes sense. I have this rod setup right here. Now, this is probably in the middle of the 3 that I'm going to talk about, but the reason I'm going to talk about it first is because for some reason you're watching this video but you only have enough money to get 1 rod setup. I recommend this would be the setup for you. So what we're looking at here is a medium heavy rod. I'm not going to talk about the length because I don't think the length is that important. When it comes to length, yes, in certain scenarios it is important, but I do think length is a personal preference thing, not a necessity. They make all different sizes. And yeah, so this is a medium heavy. Now the reason a medium heavy is good is it's gonna allow you to fish the majority of your stick baits like Cincos and things like that. It's also gonna let you dip a little bit into heavier baits like maybe a frog or a crankbait or a popper or something like that. Spinner baits, chatter baits. So a medium heavy rod is gonna allow you to do all those things. Now the reel that I have right here is a 6:3:1 gear ratio reel. Personally, I think 6.3.1 is the best, like, all-around reel because it's not too slow and it's not too fast. It is definitely more fast than it is slow, if that makes sense, but I think it's a reel that allows you to do everything. If you guys aren't familiar with what the gear ratio means or what that even is, if you look at your reel, somewhere on the reel it is going to have a ratio number. I'm trying to get that in focus, but it's right here. So this says 6.3. What that means is for every 1 crank that you make on this reel, that spool is going to rotate 6.3 times. And that's how it's gonna be for all the gear ratios. That's what that means. So if you guys didn't know that before, you do now. And yeah, so this is like my #1 go-to if you guys only can afford 1 setup, but it's also one that you're gonna need just on deck all the time. You're gonna be able to fish a majority of baits with this. And I think this is just a great all-around baitcaster setup to have in general. Now getting a little more into detail, we got the last 2, and I'm gonna show you guys where these kind of fit in. Moving into number 2, this is a rod setup that I like to use for multiple things. Again, I'm not gonna go into the length, but this is a medium action rod. The reason this is a good rod to have on deck is it's going to allow you to fish a lot of more sensitive baits and specific baits. On this rod, I have a slower gear ratio reel. This is a 5:5:1. So again, for every 1 crank, the spool's spinning 5 times. I think this is a great reel to have in your arsenal because a lot of times you need to fish baits consistently. Crank baits, spinner baits, things like that. Yes, you can burn them on other reels because it might change based on the time of year. But I don't like to burn crankbaits and things like that, so having a low gear ratio reel is really crucial for me. Now this isn't a good reel for everything because some baits you do need to pick up that line quick, and we're gonna get into that next. In this spool I have 12-pound fluorocarbon. I would keep your fluorocarbon in there, stay finesse, and you can if you want, but there's really no reason to have mono or braid in a reel of this caliber. So fluorocarbon, medium rod, slower gear ratio reel. it's a good one to have on deck when you guys are throwing baits like crankbaits and things like that. And then number 3, I think this is a super important rod setup to have, and especially if you guys are from the south, you're doing a lot of frog fishing, you're doing a lot of heavy cover fishing, and you just need one of these. Doesn't matter where you live, I guess, because there's certain scenarios where if you don't have one of these, you're gonna be in trouble. So this is what I like to call a beef stick. This is a heavy action rod with a fast gear ratio reel and heavy duty braid. Now these kind of setups get used for when you're flipping heavy weed mats, you're fishing heavy lures. I prefer a longer rod if we're gonna go into length, but again, personal preference. I prefer a longer rod because most of the things that I'm doing with this rod really require a lot of leverage, like fishing frogs and things like that. So having a beef stick like this allows me to pull fish out of heavy weeds or just thick mats, grass, things like that, where you need a lot of backbone to make something happen, because if you have like something smaller than this, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. Going into the gear ratio of the reel, this right here is an 8-to-1. I would recommend at least a 7-to-1 but somewhere between above 7 and 8 gear ratio is what I will consider fast. I think it's crucial to have a really fast reel when you have it on this setup, because again, we're fishing things like frogs where you're making far casts and you have to pick up that slack real quick, or a bass jig. You're flipping into logs and things like that and you get bit. You need to reel up that slack and set that hook as soon as possible. Having a slow gear ratio reel is not going to allow you to get that line up and quick. So this is a crucial setup that will really make a difference in the summertime for you and in specific situations. Then to follow up with that, the line that I have in there, I run 50, 60-pound braid. That may sound like a lot, but it's completely necessary. Again, when you guys are flipping around a lot of brush or you're getting into those weed mats, you need a whole setup that's really gonna give you enough backbone to get that fish out of there, especially if it is a big fish. So have a beef stick in your boat if you can. Quick overall recap for you guys. Numero uno, moderate setup, medium heavy rod, medium gear ratio reel, 6.3. Number 2, you guys should have low gear ratio reel. This one's a 5.5 medium rod. And then number 3, the beef stick, 7 and up gear ratio reel and heavy rod. Get some backbone, braided line. You guys will be good to go. Again, these are 3 setups that are gonna allow you to fish pretty much every bait in every single scenario. And you guys are gonna be more than happy learning with these setups. I promise you won't be pissed. 3 rods, that's all you need. You don't need 15 different rods. Kudos to you if you do have them. But there you guys go. I hope that helped you out. This would have been great information for me to know as I was learning, because at a certain time in my life, I was just buying a ton of rods because I felt like that's just what you did, was have a bunch of fishing rods. But there's actually purpose to these rods right here. I tell people this all the time. Fishing rods, reels, and line are just like having a toolbox. You have multiple tools in a toolbox for a specific reason, because one tool cannot do everything. So if you guys are over here making that leap into your bass fishing career, or you're getting just a little more advanced in what you're trying to do, just trying to become a better fisherman, these 3 setups right here are gonna help you do that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Do me a favor, smash that subscribe button if you are new here, and drop a like. And you guys know the deal. Go follow me on Instagram. Just hit the links in the description below. Hit your boy up. Cheers. We will see you next time.